The Huntsman of Adamos, The Huntsman's Honor, Book 1, Chapter 11, Harvest of Grief. The protector, Yurieth, of the House of Adamos, stood next to the guardian Regulus and across from the guardian Ra'utath. My lord guardians, the warriors are ready, and the huntsmen are behind the Seleucian lines, awaiting your command to strike at the blood mages. How are our numbers, Protector Yurieth of Adamos? Ra'utath asked. We outnumber the enemy, 3-2 here, and in some places on the line, 3-1. It will be a lopsided battle. Do you wish me to pull back the novice corps? Yurieth inquired. He did not like the idea of men below the age of 200 sent to the war front as he and his brother had been at 185 years old. No, Protector Yurieth, this will give them practical experience without them being in real danger. It is never wise to waste such an opportunity. It will be a teaching exercise, Ra'utath boasted, and Yurieth noticed that Regulus's cheek twitched. Bowing, Yurieth turned and walked away. Standing with his group, Yurieth gave orders to his more experienced warriors. They were to be paired with the novices. They watched as the sun of Seleucia climbed higher, yet still the enemy made no movement. They could see the smoke of the fires from the blood altars rising behind the enemy lines. Slowly, the dusty gray taupe of the sky changed to a slightly peachy color. There was the sound on the wind like the vibration of a bell or the hummed note of a song. It was pleasant, seductive to the ear, and lulling to the senses. With barely a thought, Yurieth pulled his sword. The enemy is coming. The enemy is all around you. It is time to fight, time to kill. The song pulsed in his mind told him this, and he believed it. Suddenly there was a shout of surprise, or rage, or pain, and everyone was fighting for their lives. Woven into the song was a single voice that called out to Yurieth. It begged him to flee, to come to the mountains, to come to her, and she would save him. But he had to get there first. He had to fight his way through an army to get to her, to the one singing just for him. Yurieth and Forester Juno were watching a group of priestess blood mages around a blood altar as fire rose from it. Their eyes glowed with a strange peach color. Yurieth had never seen that color of magic before. Or had he? His head began to hurt, and he could hear a strange sound, almost like music or the tone of a bell. It lulled his mind and whispered to him that he was surrounded with enemies, to slay them. He felt Juno move and rolled to the side as Juno's huntsman's blade embedded in the ground where Yurieth had knelt. Yurieth rotated and clipped Juno's jaw with the handle of his axe. Then he slammed him hard in the back of the head, rendering him unconscious. Yurieth pushed his power over the music, and his mind shouted to Regis and his huntsmen to kill those using the blood altars, all of them, including the women, and to render anyone under the influence of the strange magic unconscious, as he restrained Juno before turning to fire several arrows at the women. Yurieth, don't listen to the music. Yurieth reached out for Yurieth, but the music was blocking the bond between them. He could feel his brother fighting, that he was wounded. Yurieth got no acknowledgement from Yurieth, but Regis reached out to him. "What cursed magic is this?" "Yurieth, I had to kill Journeyman Bannon. All the warriors of Etheria are slaying each other." Huntsman Seamus called out in shock. "Lord Odini blinded them so we could escape. He said to tell you he figured out what a siren is. A magical songstress who seduces the souls of men." "I understand. Seamus, Regis, it hurts to resist, but somehow our magic is protecting us," Yurieth responded. "I'm traveling north to the next altar. Go south, both of you." Suddenly Yurieth remembered something he had read once as a child. In the myths, there were stories about women who lived in the sea and sang to lure men to their deaths and to do their bidding. They were called sirens, the name the Zelusians had given their priestess blood mages at the temple of Ashrath. Yurieth wanted to shout against the pain, but instead he traveled as quickly as he could north. He shuddered as if chilled, and for a moment the music moved past him like the wind, and the pain lessened. "Regis, Seamus, let the music move past you like the wind." "It does. Cursed shadows!" Regis swore, then responded several minutes later. "The healers are unaffected. I am protecting one, but the warrior he healed rose up and attacked us. Healing magic does not cure this." "Listen carefully, Huntsman. The sirens are making our brother warriors slay each other. The only way to stop it is to kill them. We no longer give mercy because of gender. Spread the word," Yurieth ordered. But he could only feel Regis and Seamus, and very distantly, 2 other huntsmen over the music. "I understand. Fight with honor, Huntsman Yurieth," Regis spoke to his mind. "Fight with honor, Huntsman Regis," Yurieth responded, then reached for Seamus. "Fight with honor, Huntsman Seamus." "Fight with honor, Master Huntsman Yurieth. I relayed your orders on to 3 others. Lord Yurieth, thank you for making this commoner a huntsman." "It was my honor, Seamus. Don't die today." The huntsman, Lord Yurieth of Adamos, stalked across the battlefield. He had killed nearly 24 women today, all sorceress priestesses of the blood mages of Zelusia. Once the magic had been quelled, he led the surviving warriors in retreat. Pulling back the maimed forces of Etheria to safety had taken priority. They had left those who were forever dead lying on the battlefront. It was nearly dawn when Yurieth and the 8 surviving huntsmen who possessed the ability to use heart heal magic or shepherding magic, and the 12 surviving healers who also resisted the sorcery, began searching through the bodies looking for survivors. As Yurieth walked, the blood of the fallen squished around his boots, and between the blades of grass, like too much rain, hundreds of bodies were gathered. Protectors, warriors, mages, and huntsmen were piled together with the healers they had killed. Even 3 of the 5 guardians who had been on Zelusia were dead, having slain hundreds, perhaps thousands of their own warriors before being killed, or, in the case of Altaeus and Regulus, subdued by Yurieth Regis and a young healer named Orin of the House of Adamos. Orin's older brother, the mage oracle Odini V of the House of Odini, approached Yurieth. Lord Yurieth, I must begin the spell to cremate the bodies before the Zolusians try to collect blood shards from them. Have you found your brother? The day Yurieth and Abrieth were born was the day the pools of destiny had changed apprentice oracle Odini and his magic. No, Lord Odini, I have not. Are you sure they will defile the bodies? I have never seen them harvest blood or blood shard from dead bodies on a battlefield, Yurieth asked. I have made an extensive study of the documents you and your huntsmen have gathered over the years. It is not a common practice, but the blood mages will not pass up on the bounty our dead offer. Odini looked around. He trembled for a moment in uncharacteristic emotion before his stoic demeanor returned. I must begin before the sun rises. Do it. We will continue up the line until the last of our dead are safe from the blood mages. Yurieth turned to walk away, then stopped, turning back. Lord Odini, do you know what kind of magic they use to make our warriors slay each other? It is an extinct form of magic, one not used since the First War. It is called the Song of Seduction in the Old Language, a form of magic used by Arctic seafaring nomads called the Jorntheim. Those who wielded it were called sirens. The Zolusians have somehow recovered this lost form of magic. Odini's voice was as dull and bland as a simulated one, while the fire circled and burned up the dead of Etheria. And those with oracle magic like you? Yurieth asked. Odini nodded, correcting them both. And those with oracle magic, like us. Every time the Zolusians approached the battlefield, Yurieth and his huntsmen killed everyone who didn't retreat. They tried to use another siren on them, but Yurieth and Regis hit her with magic-enhanced arrows and killed her before any working on the rescue and the collection of the dead could be effected. It took 3 days to deal with the dead, and no one slept. The Etherians had lost thousands of stones of territory, but it was nothing compared to the loss of life. Abrieth remembered the strange song and the sound like a bell or the hum of bees. And above it all, a voice calling to him to flee, to come to her. He had killed more enemy than he thought existed in the world, and been wounded, but he had made the tree line and staggered up the rugged hill. A hooded female rushed out from behind a tree and caught him before he could collapse. Her touch soothed his terrified soul. Her voice drowned out the strange music that urged him to kill. She loaded him into the back of a land skimmer and hurried away. He woke at a large manor. The hooded woman rushed out and held a cup to his lips. It was a healing potion of sorts. Please, please, she begged. Her Etherian was broken. Get up. Must go inside. Must hide before anyone comes. They will stop at this place on the way to the temple city. Why? His throat felt like fire, and his face hurt. He thought he remembered being burned with mage fire, but he wasn't certain. "Why are you helping me?" he asked in Zalusian. The young woman's pale coral eyes were fearful for a moment. Then she answered in Zalusian, I've been dreaming about you for a long time. The Light Oracle told me you would come, but I would have to rescue you. The Dark Queen is teaching the priestesses to be sirens. They made your soldiers kill each other. Only healers and other sirens can resist the power of the dark song magic. Please get up. I must hide you." Yurieth's head began to swim when he stood up, and he staggered against her as she guided him. He stopped, staring at a portrait on the hall wall, but she dragged him forward to a blank wall across from it. She touched the wall and it vanished. Once they were down the corridor, the wall closed itself behind them. She supported him into a room, and he was amazed at how strong she was. He fell forward onto the bed, and she rolled him over, quickly stripping him of his armor and spreading healing paste on his wounds. Her magic tried to soothe him, but she didn't know what she was doing, so she just wished for him to sleep comfortably. She washed him and changed his bandages and forced him to drink fortified broth and potions every few hours. Most of all, she prayed they wouldn't be found. On the 4th day, she jerked awake to find him running his fingers through her hair. "You're alive. You're safe. When you heal, I will return you to your people," she promised. "Why are you helping me?" he asked quietly. Her chin trembled. You do not know who I am?" When he didn't speak, she looked away. "Helping you is the right thing to do." Tears began to leak from her eyes, and she rose quickly, but he caught her wrist and pulled her against his chest. His dark golden eyes held her coral ones, as his fingers brushed her tears away. He kissed her with a gentleness she had never known. For the first time, she felt something fluttering in her soul that wasn't pain. "I know that you are my sealed one, Princess of Zalusia, and that your grandfather, the Shadow Mage King, wishes to bleed all that is good from both our worlds. Your grandmother is the high priestess called the Dark Queen." His large hand pulled hers up for both of them to see. His finger touched her scars. "I know that you have been hurt. You have been bled for the faith of your people. But I promise you, you will never be loved as I will love you if you come with me. My mother and our allies will teach you to be a proper healer, and you will never be bled again." A sob escaped her lips as she scrambled away from him. "I can't go with you. I don't want... You don't want me. I'm tainted, used. I will never be pure like the women of your people. That was taken from me when I was 12 decades. I have no power, unlike the rest of my family. My mother was a breeding slave, kidnapped when the temples of light were destroyed. She was bled over my grandfather's blood altar until I was 10 decades. Then my sister and I were forced to kill her. I am only alive so that when my grandmother goes to the devouring shadow, the Dark Queen will have a choice of whom to indwell between my sister and I. Either way, I am dead. I won't let that happen, he promised. I, Lord Yurieth, a protector of the House of Adamos, vow to protect you, my sealed one. She shook her head. I'm sorry. You cannot save me. I will get you something to eat. She ran away before he could ask her name. Later she brought him some food and a healing tea, and stood while he ate and drank, shifting from one foot to another. What is your name? He asked. It is best if you don't know. I've met you, you will live. That is enough for my heart, she answered, then said, I need to comb your hair. His eyes narrowed at her. Why? To take your grief. I am keeping you from remembering what my grandmother and her sirens made you do. But the more you heal, the more likely you are to remember. I don't want you to remember. She held out a comb and an obsidian bowl. Will I forget you? He asked curiously, mildly wondering if her magic would help his brother. No, that is a different kind of magic that I don't possess. You will remember, but without the pain it would cause you normally, she explained. She chewed her lip. I should put you to sleep, so you won't experience the pain when I comb it away. What are you trying to heal me from? What are you keeping me from remembering? He demanded suspiciously. He could barely remember how he got here, and nothing since standing on the ridge with his brother the night before the battle. Under the influence of the siren's magic, you killed many. I'm a warrior. I have always killed in battle, he interrupted. You killed your comrades. The princess looked at him with so much sadness and sympathy. Yurieth was suddenly afraid he had harmed Yurieth. Then I want to remember, and feel my grief. I would not dishonor them by not acknowledging what I did. Tell me your name, and I will let you comb my hair, he bargained with her. I am Serapha, second princess, daughter of the fourth prince Lucif, granddaughter of Apollyon and Baalonia of the House of the Fallen Star. I don't know who my mother was before she came here, except that her name was Yvain, she admitted in such an ashamed voice. Serapha, from Seraphim, a type of angel. You are my angel. I trust you, he said quietly. Please begin. As she ran the ornately carved comb through his hair, Yurieth almost convulsed with the pain and the horror that ripped through his soul. Her tears matched his as she combed the drops of something that looked like dark blood into a black bowl. His breath panted in and out in pain as he remembered the face of every Etherian he slew during the battle. Some of it shocked him beyond the horror of his actions. To get to her, he had done things he should not have been able to. Soon it began to slack, and she whispered, We are almost finished. 3 more strokes, and he could look at the horror of what he had done without hating himself. 2 more, and she stopped. It is done. The harvest of grief always leaves a little pain, but it won't be crippling to your soul. She turned and poured the bowl into a dark bottle. Thank you, my angel, Yurieth said, as he sunk back down on the pillows, falling asleep almost instantly. And that's chapter 11, Harvest of Grief. The next chapter is 12, His Brother's Sealed One. Thank you for listening.